College. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, Grant. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good. I did a rant on this today. I thought it's a real bad look by Patrick Mahomes yesterday. Listen, I understand the frustration. I understand that they have not played well. They've lost three or four. But I mean, the officials made the correct call. If you're going to rip the officials, rip them when they make a incorrect call, which happens all the time. Rip them when they miss a call. Kadarius
Yeah.
Toney was offsides. I mean, how the hell can you rip the refs for that?
It sounded like spoiled kid didn't get the gift he wanted for Christmas thing.
Yep.
I mean, no offense, but Kansas City gets a lot of the Michael Jordan treatment. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the superstar treatment. They've been, and I guess you've earned it. And like at least in basketball, Grant, sometimes we can't tell, was it a little foul? There's no pre-alignment foul unless you step on the baseline or inbound line, and you'd automatically call it. You're not going to say, well, it didn't affect the play. Listen, I love Andy and I love Mahomes. They are dead ass wrong on this, okay? The NFL didn't embarrass themselves. The referees didn't embarrass themselves. Matter of fact, the Chiefs looked like they're a team that's desperate right now with the way things are going. And they didn't get the call they wanted on a play that was spectacular. And your guy not only lined up offsides, the side judge couldn't even see the ball. It was blatant. Of course you call that. Just like, and I know Mahomes said, well, it didn't even have anything to do with the play. Well, let me ask you this. Let's flip this thing. They're playing Buffalo. Buffalo lines up the neutrals for yard. Boom, play goes. Patrick throws a ball in the flat for a catch and intercepts and goes to the interception. And then all of a sudden they're ranting and raving. Did you see it? He jumped off sides. Didn't have any effect on the play. The ball came out. It just hit his hands and was intercepted. So why do you care? We'll call the penalty because we want to redo the play. See how that works? It happens both ways. It's absurd. This is the referees didn't. Matter of fact, if they went into their evaluation, Grant, they'd be ripped to shreds for missing that if they didn't do it. Listen, you may not like the rule lineup. Well, it's kind of close. That's bad for football. No, it's not. Tell your wide receiver to raise his football friggin' IQ and his $1 million salary and line up like we do in 5th grade Swickley, Pennsylvania, in the 7th grade in San Diego, California, and in the 4th grade in Texas on sides. It's one control the penalties you can control, and all you got to do is turn and say, how am I? If he doesn't answer, you ask his ass again, the official. He will actually back you up, unlike a holding call or something else where that's on you. This is simply all you got to do is ask. And that's on you. 100% on the Chiefs. Hey, no questions asked.
Thank you.
Great franchise. Shitty-ass way to blame the officials for something you did wrong pre-snap. Screw them.
And I did also on my rant today. I'm so tired of Brittany Mahomes. Go away, would you please? She says the MVP of the game are the refs. No, the MVP of the game, if you're really looking at it, is Kadarius Toney, that knucklehead for in a crucial situation being that far off sides. That's the guy. Brittany Mahomes, stay off social media, would you please?
Yeah, if you want to go fine. If you want to blame the refs, fine. But no, listen. When it comes to the officials, I really don't give a rat's ass what she says about it. And I am a through and through a good football fan. And you want to talk it, but don't blame the refs. That's not the reason you lost this game. That's number one. Number two, Grant, and it chaps my ass to the point where we're supposed to. Oh, it's Kansas City speaking. Oh, we just got to sit back. Listen, I every year realize how good they are and how well positioned and coached and played they are.
Yeah.
But damn, we get on bad teams for doing this and say that's why they're a bad team. Maybe a tiny shit starting to seep into Kansas City and they're losing a little bit of focus. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there. And listen, Tony's dropped plenty of balls this year. I know he's a good football player, but I always tell quarterbacks and players, just control what you can control. I can't control the weather. I can't control how hot it is. I can't control that official, but I know I can control lining up on sides and those things. And we also tell our players that when it's going, you have to overcome stuff like this, and you have to deal with stuff that nobody wants to deal with. But when it's a pre-snap penalty that your guy lined up off sides and it's got to be the old I confess that's our fault, not the official's fault. I think it's a loser's lament.
It's awful
to blame the officials because you made a spectacular play out of a penalty where you couldn't get lined up like in the 7th grade. You know what we do? Tell your quarterback and your players, check when you come in line of scrimmage. It's another thing I do. Look, and even though the receiver's supposed to know, Grant, even in Mahomes' case, and we listen, there's not a lot of criticism for Patrick Mahomes because he's a monster, he's a great guy, all that. But
Yep.
my job as a quarterback is also make sure that his ass is lined up. So if you're scanning, you got to back off a little bit, dude. Or they were in a bunch. Kelsey, back him off. The bottom line is Kansas City got a little lackadaisical, and it cost them. And the game was lost. They've lost a couple in a row, and it's not normal for the Chiefs to lose like that.
Sean, here we are in the middle of December, and maybe if it was the first week or second week of the season, I could digest a little bit more. I don't recall seeing so many blown coverages game after game after game after game. I'm talking about guys so wide open running down the field. It's mind-boggling to me.
It is. And, Grant, I try to figure out, well, wait a second, there's still only 11 guys on the field. I don't know how many different ways that you can call an offense, but we do so. And I know speed kills, man, it does. But a lot of these guys that are running through open seams and, beyond players, you're like, how did he get to that point? Tribute to the coordinators and their guts to dial up stuff that's at times unique. And you say, man, that's a great play call. And or the multiple coverages and formations and motions we use, Grant. A lot of times, if you have not studied your opponent or not done your due diligence, you pass something off you're not supposed to pass off as a defender. I don't know why, but it does. It seems like there's more uncontested, easy big plays happening in the league than ever before. And offenses, these quarterbacks and these offenses are too good that the majority of the time they're going to find that guy who's open like that running free. And you're right. Every week you look up, it's like that guy's 20 yards beyond coverage, and it was a 3rd and 9 play. Yeah, it happens. It's a regular occurrence.
Day in mourning today in Houston. That was a very disappointing performance. I got to give Wilson credit. I mean, maybe his best game as a pro. That's fine and dandy. One game doesn't make a career. Let's see him do it again next week. But boy, that was a surprising outcome to say the least.
Yeah, Grant, we talk about, going into mindset I don't know what players' mind. I know when I played going in, how we all fans will all stack back. Oh, they weren't ready to play mentally. Excuse me. I know that D'Amico Ryans didn't have them practicing like, hey, let's just go into this one not ready to play. It's going to be bad weather. It's a great equalizer. We got to go on the road against the New York team. And I always say this, dangerous are teams that can be desperate, that is just another loss, and a quarterback who's been benched. The offense is embarrassed with the defense, and the Jets run a damn good defense every week. Now it's raining sideways, and you can't get rolling, and the Jets defense was flying, and Zach Wilson looked like a first-round pick last night.
Yeah, he did.
The problem is he did, and listen, he's not above the criticism he's received. He's played many times subpar to average football. Nobody questions his ability. We question his ability to sustain consistent, simple play. Grant, yesterday, you know what he did? He hit the flat. He made great throws on the outcut, on time, outside. That's why they drafted his ass. And had he been doing this since he's been in the league, Grant, do you know that Aaron Rodgers would not be a Jet today? He would not be if, as Zach Wilson,
exactly right.
He would not have been. So
exactly right.
And I've been on dangerous teams when you're getting humiliated. Here's the Texans, though. They've done this a couple times this year, Grant. They did Atlanta come in and have Ritter play his best game. They went to Carolina coming off a bye week and laid an egg against a team that can't win 3 games.
Yeah.
And now they go to New York, which is a solid talent, but offense has been putrid. Let Zach Wilson in rain. It didn't bother him. It sure looked like it bothered the Texans, and their defense was lights out. Tribute to the to the Jets, because the Texans are going to end up regretting a couple of these games when we get to late December, Grant. They just are, because they let these, and they play better against good teams. But yeah, I don't know if mourning, because what they've done, Grant, which we wouldn't even be having this conversation the last 3 years about the Texans, right? We'd say it's December, we expect this. But they have created this buzz. It's like, wait a minute. They're not supposed to lose the Jets on the road. We're the Texans now. So there is a different confidence.
Good point.
But they looked like the recent Texans. So they've made us believe, oh, you're going to New York, you got to win this. I said on my show last week, it's a dangerous, dangerous game, because they've been humiliated, and grown men, when they get humiliated, got 2 choices. And they responded, and they literally, it's the worst loss I think the Texans have had this year, because they got their ass kicked on both sides of the ball. Forget the score. It was just a drubbing. It looked like playoff Jets, and 4-win Texans in that game yesterday. That's what it looked like.
Tell you what else is dangerous, a team that's kind of teetering right now on the brink, and they're in first place. But boy, the Lions, they have just fallen off the map. They look like a completely different team now. And Lions fans are like, gee, what else is new? Yeah, they're still in first place, but I look at their schedule, they still have the Vikings twice now. I don't even know where to go there. They went to their fourth string quarterback. I don't know where the hell they are right now. But when you see the Lions, what are their big issues right now? They look like a team that was rolling big time.
Yeah, that's a great point. I try to watch them a lot because I think they can be so exciting to watch.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. The extremes are through the roof. And just so Cody knows, yeah, I said that the Panthers had beat the Texans. That's one of those games the Texans, after coming out of the bye week, didn't do anything, right? So yes, you are correct. But Grant, I in watching Detroit play, there's I'd love to put my finger on it. The execution and the urgency seems like it's almost like Detroit's not used to themselves being in this situation in December recently. And Grant, they got on a roll last year, as we saw, and played hot, kept the Packers out of the playoffs, all that late in the season. But when I'm watching them, there's this sense of I don't see them playing with the same urgency when I saw them at times at the second half of last year and early this year. And the reason that the blatant extremes for them are going to cost them because they've won some games recently, but Grant, they've had to pull some out of their rear end lately to win them, like the Packer game. And the Bears go in and beat them. The Bears aren't exactly explosive on offense. So, yeah, listen, if they don't get this short up, you know what they're going to be, Grant? They're going to be go to the wild card round and get beat in the first round. And everybody's going to say, oh, what the hell? So they're looking like a team that's not familiar with this type of football this late. It's been a minute now. Do I think they're talented and you don't want to play them when they're right? Yes, but right now, I may get a 3 out of them and I may get a 9 out of them. And I don't like that. I'd rather have 7s all across the board, Grant, because they're the biggest Dow Joneser right now. Teams you're saying, man, they're really good. And then one week I'm like, are they the worst team in the division? And they're better than that because I love their coach, but they can't survive the wild card round with their inconsistency. No. They're going to get beat by a seed that's not supposed to beat them if they're not careful.
Personally, I'm so happy to see Jake Browning. I've watched the kid play growing up. I watched him play in high school. He was at the nearby rival 5 minutes from where I live. He's friends with my son. So I have a personal interest in rooting for him. But this is developing into another great story. Again, a backup that we would know nothing about unless it was for an injury to the starter. And the guy steps in and has played so well.
I couldn't be happy. Grant, he was a journeyman that we didn't know if he was going to last in the league.
That's right.
After an excellent and a lot of games started at the University of Washington, right, Grant?
4 years.
And got I think one visit of his wasn't one visit of his in the Final Four. They made it to the playoffs.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yep. They got beat the next week.
They got killed. Yep.
Yeah, but that year they had a good one. So did he. And sometimes, Grant, it takes a new address. It takes a different style of coach for somebody like what's going on with Geno Smith.
Great point.
You rediscover yourself, and now you're a starter making $15 million a year. What Jake's doing is we know who the quarterback is there, but like Zach Wilson, like Jake Browning, different rounds, but same thing is you're not only auditioning to make sure your team can trust you like they do. See, right now they're going into games saying, hell, we win 3 or 4 more in a row. We're right back in the playoff talk. And that's why, and what he's doing, that's why he's the back. That's why I've always felt, I know I'm the backup to Warren Moon, but damn, you put me in. You better expect me to win games for you and be a part of it. If not, then I'm not worth a hoot as a backup quarterback or a starter at times like Browning is now. But it's audition for your own team to say, we'll trust him. He's our guy he'll back up Joe because we need a guy like that because it's rare. You're not going 17 games every year, 10 years in a row. That's hard to do with that kind of. So you got to have another guy on a good team that can sustain you 2 or 3 games. Well, this is more than 2 or 3 games. And if they don't want you, what you're doing is creating another opportunity for you to get a bigger contract somewhere else and go start. I'm with you. I love resilience, and I love guys who people say, what's he doing in the league? And then you blink, and the dude's your starter, and now got you on the brink of possible playoffs. I think this is a great story, and it seems to me like he's getting better by the week, but with his confidence and command. And I'm sure Joe hates missing games, but I'm sure he loves seeing how Jake Browning's come in and kept them afloat. That's important.
All right, I didn't get a chance to pick your brain on this last week because we had a technical issue, but now you've had a week to digest this. And I'm talking about the four teams that are going to the college football playoff. First and foremost, this year, it's an impossible task for the committee. There was going to be at least one team, and in all likelihood, two teams, which it is, that feel like they got screwed. Obviously, Florida State being the one that sticks out. Your thoughts?
Grant, I've gone back and forth on this. Listen, let me just start with my eye test. Florida State's not one of the four best teams in the country. Just
Okay.
understand. I mean, they're not. The eye test. Matter of fact, Ohio. I would take.
Would they be if their quarterback had not been hurt?
That's my second point of this.
Okay.
Today, knowing that Jordan Travis is not playing and on a great year, that I would take all seven teams and all the seven teams that were in of the eight teams, the top eight. I would take the other seven right today over Florida State.
Seven.
I think Oregon beats them. I think Ohio State beats them, and whoever else. Georgia. Listen, I can tell you the message, Kirby, and I haven't asked anybody, but you know what kind of message Kirby Smart is telling his football team getting ready for this game? He is going to preach nationally. He's going to preach we are going out there to prove that we at Georgia belonged in the Final Four because we are, as an eye test, one of the four. So they got it right under the structure. But in truth, if you're asking just if the only criteria was the four best teams, Florida State still wouldn't have made it, and Georgia would be in it. But you can't put Georgia in because they lost to Alabama, and you can't keep Texas out because they beat Alabama, and Washington's undefeated. Now, if you really wanted the next level, take the Michigan, Washington, and Florida State, those three undefeated conference champions, and then say Georgia, Alabama, Texas. There's where the vote is. But with all the criteria all over the place, without your starting quarterback yet, then I had somebody got me thinking, what if Michael Penix got hurt in the second quarter and they still went on to beat Georgia and he wasn't going to be available for the Final Four? Would they have punished Washington? If Quinn Ewers was out and Arch Manning was starting, they wouldn't have punished him because of the Arch Manning respect in the Manning family. I'm just telling you.
Great point.
And if Deion Sanders, as Stephen A. Smith said, he says, I'm telling you, and I Grant, Stephen A. had said that if Deion was a coach at Florida State, they probably would have looked at them different. And not because Mike Norvell's not a good coach. It's because Deion will keep them in the news, right? Hell, Deion's Colorado team got more pub than Florida State did, and they won 4 friggin' games this year. And Deion can coach. But if Deion was at Florida State, his alma mater, I'm not so sure they'd have had the balls to turn Deion's team down. I'm being serious about that. I'm talking about the committee. Honest to God, because Mike just sat back, coached, and didn't let you have it when it was over. Listen, those kids at Florida State did everything they were asked to do, and their coaching staff go undefeated and win the conference. But in an odd year, you can't keep Texas out. Well, I guess you could, but Texas beats Bama. You're not going to keep the team that just hammered, when I say hammered, but went in and beat the number one team in the country for 3 straight years until now and won them. And Washington's 13-0 in what is a deep, deep conference. So it's a bummer. Did Florida State get hosed in a roundabout? Of course they did. Yeah. They got punished for still winning games when the backup, which tells me they should have got credit for winning games because they didn't have their starters in and still went and did it. That's what you're asking your team to do. Listen, we're more than just the quarterback yet. It goes back to the simple emotional eye test, Grant. The money as well. They didn't want Florida State to go in there and get their ass handed to them without their starting quarterback and get beat 44-10 and have everybody say, see, the eye test, just go with the eyes. Florida State's not one of the 4 best teams. The way that the system's set up, they should be going, which means you would have left somebody else out. And I guess Alabama would have been the odds-on choice simply because they lost to Texas. They won, but they got hammered in their own building with the biggest win of the year by Texas at Alabama. Right. I think it sucks. This is when you want 8 teams because I think any of the 8 were capable of winning it. I feel horrible for Florida State, but the eye test, just the eye test, they're not one of the 4 best teams without their quarterback.
All right, final thing. You mentioned Deion Sanders. I don't have anything against Deion Sanders, but I said this multiple times back in September. I said this is such an overrated team. This is the most overhyped team that I can remember in the history of college football. I mean, and Deion Sanders wins SI's Sports Person of the Year. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. How the hell does that happen?
Well, let's go back to Florida State getting to the Final Four had he been coaching them because, Grant, he has a way of he's engaging.
He's a polarizing figure, yes.
And to make no mistake, that and social media matter in this stuff nowadays. They just do. And you and I both know it. And the money and Florida State. Hey, a 13-0 Florida State team is going to shine. Those diamonds and that shine's going to be a lot brighter with Deion there. It just is, Grant. You and I both know. Listen, their biggest win. What was their biggest win of the year? At TCU, the opener that turned the program around.
Who ended up being a bad team this year.
Right. So, I love Deion, and I think he's filled with substance. A great recruiter, and he's a guy that old and young alike, everybody in between knows. That's why they call him Coach Prime. But they were all hat, no cattle. He's great at recruiting, getting people to – now what he's done is he's completely brought money. It changed the program's belief around, and I love that. But as far as this team, you are exactly right. First of all, Sportsman of the Year because he changed it. Did their team – usually isn't reserved for teams that win, 4 or 5 games and don't qualify for a bowl game. But and I love the way he did his impact. But I can tell you this, that's all hat, no cattle, man. Their team, aside from scoring points early, they faded away. They didn't have the depth. They didn't have the physical guys. They can run, but guess what? Without all that finesse stuff's fine and dandy until you get punched in the throat about 15 times in a game, you're done. Their biggest win was the opener against TCU, and they ended up playing some close games, but he turned the program around. But Sportsman of the Year, hey,
come on.
Exactly. There's probably a few more that probably had done more in sports this year to qualify for that, but lesson learned, you know what? Deion brings that, and he brings attention to a program, and everybody loves it, so good for him. But, nah, man, it was the biggest story in college football this year on a 4 or 5 win team. So there you go, man. Yeah, 4-win team. And 3 of them were in the first month, right, Grant?
Yeah, that's right. Well, they started off 3-0, and they beat a bad Colorado State in overtime. They got lucky to win that game.
In their building, in their own building.
On their field. TCU, as we found out, was not very good this year, and I can't even remember. They lost to Stanford at home, for crying out loud. Think about that for a minute. Colorado lost to Stanford on their home field. I mean, come on.
And to make things worse, they did almost beat my Trojans, and that wouldn't have been a good win either because we couldn't stop anybody. So there you go. Yeah, man, I'm anxious to see going forth when Deion gets his people in there. I mean, recruits more than one recruiting class, how it's going to go in a full year and doing all this, Grant. But no, the Sportsman of the Year, that's just called we know who Deion is, and Deion can create incredible marketing because he knows how to do that, and he's so savvy when it comes to that.
Have a great week. Enjoy the games tonight, my friend.
Thank you, brother. You too. I appreciate you always.
Appreciate you too. That's good stuff from Sean Salisbury. We're going to be talking some NBA coming up here in just a moment, but we got a lot of things that I want to talk about, including New Works Plumbing of Sacramento. They are awesome when it comes to your plumbing needs and repairs. They're available 24/7. So just go to sacserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. Ryan in Sacktown. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. Yourself, Napes?
Doing good. We got some NBA basketball coming up tonight. We got the Kings and the Nets as the tough back-to-back. I say tough because you got to play tonight, and you got to go to play the Clippers tomorrow. And so we'll see what happens. Last year, this was their bugaboo. Games that the Kings should have won at home. They lost a lot of those. They can't do it this year.
They can't, but Brooklyn is a better team than a lot of people are giving them credit for, especially if you look at the spread. The Kings are 4.5-point favorites. Brooklyn's won 3 in a row, 6 of their last 7. They're a scrappy bunch, so the Kings are going to have to come in, and especially with Malik Monk possibly being out to illness, they're going to have to find a spark from somewhere else other than Malik.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that. That would not be good, that's for sure. I mean, he's been their third best player all year behind Fox and Sabonis. I don't think anybody would even debate that, correct?
No, you would have to turn to him 100%.
All right, so pregame coming up at 6:30. Jerry joins us at halftime, and then the postgame show as well, the Kings and the Nets, and then it's quickly to the airport for the 1-hour flight down to L.A. and a meeting with the Clippers. So, again, we'll see what happens. And kind of a sidebar tonight, Harry Giles is in the building.
Yes, he is.
I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, he was during a hard time in Sacramento basketball, he was a fan favorite here. Really cool story how he's clawed his way back into the league, and happy to see him dress up for the Brooklyn Nets and actually play some minutes. He had 8 points last game.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a pair of games tonight in the NFL. I can't call the Giants a prevent offense anymore because they've actually scored a little bit, but I can't imagine them beating Green Bay, and I got to believe Miami is going to roll in their game. So we'll see what happens, but at least we got 2 games to choose from tonight.
Yeah, two games with really interesting matchups in terms of, the underdog versus the favorites, because Green Bay, they've ridden a lot of momentum, but the Giants, you just don't know. That defense can be scary at times. And
Yeah.
14 points for the Dolphins, that is a lot of points. A lot of points.
How you been doing on your picks every week?
Napes, I am not doing too good, but I am pretty impressed with the top of the leaderboard in our league right now. I mean, you guys are picking at the leader right now at a 56% clip.
Wow.
58 is like Vegas material usually. So
Wow.
Cameron is in the lead at 56%. Then we got Light the Beam right behind him. Then I'd rather be fishing, Yummy B, B Rose, stacking C notes, best picks. And then Napes bringing out the top 10. And all of you guys are within 2 picks of each other. So it's getting pretty hot. We're going all the way through the Super Bowl. So get excited.
How about that, huh? You're not doing too good though, huh, buddy?
I am not doing great. I'm picking 44% to your 52%.
I'm at 52,
or 54%, excuse me.
What? I'm at 54. What's Vegas? You said like what, around 56?
Right around 58%.
So if you can get 58%, you're killing it. Is that what you're telling me?
You're killing it in Vegas. Yeah, that's what Rome and Big Head and all of them go by, about a 50% or 58% clip is an insider.
Wow. All right. So the pressure's on is what you're telling me, huh?
Yeah, you got to finish strong. You got to finish strong, buddy.
We should be again pretty soon. I get a lot of people sending me messages. The merch is not that far away, so I want people to understand we're going to have some new merch available here in the very near future.
Yes, we are getting excited about it. New offerings from last year. So
yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so pregame show, Jerry with the halftime, postgame show, buddy. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you real soon. It's going to be a busy night.
Sounds good. Have a good one, Napes.
All right, you too. Good stuff there from Ryan in Sacktown. Also, I want to tell you about Bennett's. They have 3 locations for you. Of course, their newest one is in Rockland at the Blue Oaks Town Center in Rockland. They have prime seafood and steak, the weekend brunch, the weekend prime rib. It's awesome. Just go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com and you can see for yourself, make a reservation and more. That's Bennett's Westside Grill, one of 3 locations and their newest in Rockland. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Talk to you later. Pregame show with Ryan. I'm going to be doing the Listen App show coming up here at the top of the hour. So join me for that. We'll continue on with our sports talk. You take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us right here on If You Don't Like That.